Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Happy Saturday. Hello. How is everyone? Give everyone a moment to kind of jump on. Happy Saturday, everyone. Hopefully you're having a wonderful day so far. Awesome. Okay. Looks like
howdy.
A couple more coming in. So I'm so excited to play with this kit again. It was super fun. I don't know how many of you guys went to the possibly the mini album class where we use this paper. So we just recently created that one, and I just love this kit. I pulled these layouts again out that we're going to be creating tonight, and I'm like, I don't think I'm going to get tired of this paper. It's just so warm and inviting and autumny, which I'm kind of a sucker for anything autumn though, so maybe that's what it is. But hello, everyone. Okay, so just make sure everyone's familiar. Yes, Key. Hi, everyone from West Virginia, not too far. There is a chat, so feel free to join the chat or ask questions. I will try to make sure that I see them, and if you want to unmute yourself and ask a question, that's always an option here in Zoom as well. If you have background noise, then you can just keep yourself muted. And when you have a question, you can unmute yourself and then mute yourself again, kind of thing. But
Susan,
yeah.
has the email for the completion of the gratitude album been sent yet? For those of us that had to exit early?
You know what? I believe that it was, I feel like they sent that yesterday, but now you have me wondering if it got sent or if it was scheduled, but I'll have to ask them, but let me throw that in the chat really fast, the link, just so you have it. And then maybe as we're going along in this class, I'll shoot a text over to Sonia, actually just verify what time frame that went out.
Yeah, because so often my Kiwi stuff has been going to my junk. And so I haven't gotten it yet, but I haven't checked there. Okay. So I just wanted to verify.
Well,
because
I've
gotten this far. Look.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
My little belly band.
Yes, I love it.
So and I don't know how to post stuff. So
you just take a picture. You just snap a picture and post it in the group.
In what group? That's for a whole nother class.
Okay, we'll do another class on that. And you can post on Facebook group for now or in the community. They check both places as we're kind of building up that community on Kiwi Lane. We actually want to get the app done first, so we haven't done too much with it, but in the next year, because that's right around the corner, I like the new year, and I'm like, holy cow, that's a little over a month away. Insane. So insane. But yes, we are excited. We're going to be launching an app next year, so that will be super great to have for the community inside of the kiwilane.com community. But otherwise, Facebook, that is a really great place to get inspiration and ideas as well. Okay, I just let a couple more people in. Welcome.
Hey, Susan. How are you?
Oh, hi. Hello. Yes.
I wanted to let you know that I love these classes so much. I'm a seasoned scrapbooker, but sometimes you just got to let it go. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I like that I'm not in control, because you can always add more things to your layout. So
I feel you. I'm a seasoned scrapbooker too, but it's interesting because even people ask me sometimes, they're like, do you use the idea books? I'm like, I even use the idea books. Sometimes you just have to. Like, classes are great, and it's nice to start and finish something and just hang out. So thank you guys.
Yeah, just the smallest thing inspires me. It could be a ribbon or a piece of paper or anything. It inspires me. So, but it's nice to be part of the group. It's fun scrapbooking with other sisters. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. And Vicki, like, just adding that little button on yours completely inspired me again. I was like, that is so cute.
Oh, but did you see the ribbon?
The ribbon. I'm gonna spotlight you, and then we're gonna jump in. Oh, the ribbon button. See? Yeah, I know. It's just so cute.
So it closes and look, see? And then it opens.
Okay. Is it Velcro then on the back?
Yeah, it's
See?
just a little Velcro dot.
I love it.
See?
Yes. Next one. I'm gonna inspired me. I love it. All right, guys. So for today's class, just make sure that you have all of your needs and supplies together. We are going to be using the Streamer Fun Border. Okay, so Streamer Fun Border, the Harvest a la carte, and also the Autumn Blessings kit. So if you're using the exact paper, and then also the Gather designer templates that come in this kit, if you're using your own paper, that's fine. But as far as the templates go, and then we are using a few little details from Tiny Plants as well. So if you have those, if you need substitutions as we go along, let me know if there's something else, and I'll give you a couple of suggestions if that's helpful. But for the most part, we're going to kind of use a couple of those and start to create these couple layouts, and we'll see how much we can get done, but we should be able to run through those smoothly. If any of you guys are new to Kiwi Lane or the Play to Create system, specifically in regards to creating scrapbook layouts, let me know in the comments, just so that I can kind of help you along and be aware of you if you're kind of not familiar with it. But for the most part, we're going to just go through the process, which is design, trace, cut, ink, replace. And we're going to end up with some adorable layouts that hopefully you have memories and pictures in mind to scrapbook for those. All right, so let me change the view to my hands. Let me find my hands. Where's my video? There it is. All right, pen. Okay, so does everyone see my hands now?
No.
No, not yet.
Mm-mm.
Well, let me go back, because one video it did not pin, and so I definitely want you to tell me. How about now? You see my hands? Yes, yes, hands.
Yeah, I can.
Perfect. Thanks. Okay, so to start off with, we're going to start with this one, this layout right here. So go ahead and open up your kits. Let me put this to the side for a bit. There. And we're going to pull out this background to create on top of a little cricket here. Here we go. Okay. And it's got, I got to pull it out too, but it's, you know, this warm orange color, and there's like a light green on the back. So it has little crisscrosses, and it will have two in this kit. So opening up this Paper Crafting Kiwi Club kit here. Comes with patterns and blenders and all the supporting patterns inside of this kit to help you kind of build a cohesive layout creation of your own. And what we're going to do, go ahead and put these ones in my tray. And then I usually just pull the title cards off, and you probably have them in your bag. And I just set those to the side until we need them. And so in here, you're going to have a variety of different patterns, but you should have two sheets that are the same. And this is because it is designed with 2-page layout in mind, or the need for a 2-page. So you have that option to create that 2-page, which we're going to be creating tonight, without having the need to have multiple kits. So this is the sheet. As little, you can see that pattern a little bit better. So orange on one side and then like a light green on the other, and you should have two of the same for that. So I usually just pull those out, and we're going to start and then place everything else to the side, and we'll pull out what we need as we go along. All right. Okay, let me get cozy here. usually pull up my legs when I'm creating. It's probably not the best for my back. I keep telling myself that, but all right. So Debbie, my mother-in-law, is on her way. She's actually last minute stopping by. And so I told my husband when she gets here, it might be a little bit longer. I was like, tell her to come in and say hi to everyone. So we'll see. She might have a traveling, you know, look. So we'll see if she does or not. But okay, so let's go ahead and start with that. Now, I want to point out, so you're going to know over here, we're going to use the streamers number 3. Okay. And then also we're going to use the brackets number 5, or the gather, so 5 from the kits. And you can layer your pumpkin up in there. So grab the harvest a la carte. It's nicely tucked. Here, let me put this over here so you can kind of see that as we go along. We're going to go back and add these little details as well. And then as far as the other little embellishments go, we're going to pull the gather number 3, the little rose, and we'll be using that here on this layout and other places as well, but kind of pulling out those little embellishment touches, having them handy as we go along. This page has a lot of little clusters and little accent pieces that you can either build on top of or even simplify down as we go along. So depending on your personal style and what you're attracted to. This is also where I love the tiny plants. So tiny plants is kind of one of those standard sets that I would recommend, mostly because whenever you need little detail accents piece, it could be fall layout, it could be a winter layout, it could be even a Halloween layout, it could be a travel layout. Just sometimes when you need a little bit of an extra little foliage or accent pieces, like a top layer to a flower or something like that. This is where this standard tiny plants, of course, you can also use it as like a gardener, enthusiastic potter. I have some pictures of my daughter because she absolutely loves planting plants. And anyway.
I have a question.
Yes.
My streamers number 3. See how yours at the top has a little notch out on each side?
Okay.
Yes, mine also has the notch out at the bottom. It's not rounded. Yours isn't rounded either.
Yeah, I should have it on the 4, correct.
Okay,
Yep.
Gotcha. Well, you had the thing over it as it's
Yeah.
curved. Okay, I see what you did. You pulled it down.
Yep, I'm layering it on top, correct.
Okay, I thought that I had a mistake here.
Nope.
Okay, I got it.
Awesome. So the ones we're going to use from Tiny Plants, if you want to pull those out, it's 4T and 7T. We're going to just create a couple of those as we make this little focal point on our layout. We'll get to this in a little bit, but for the most part, if you have them out in handy, so I'll go through that again. Streamers 3 is layered on Gather 5. And then we are going to use 4T and 7T from Tiny Plants. And then we're also going to use Gather 3, the rose, and then Gather 2, the wheat, little wheat accent piece here, along with the a la carte, the harvest a la carte. And we're going to just kind of really layer up. Like I said, you can simplify the layers as we go, or you can really build up those layers with more details. Now, I wanted to show you guys this because you'll see here that I actually used a different border, and I wanted to purposely do that so that in the class, as we just stick to streamers, I wanted to show how this even can be incorporated more like a border design. So for the start off with, and we'll get to that here as we piece this layout together, it's a little bit more piecey, but go ahead and pull out streamers 1 as well. And kind of layer that inside of your creation. So it looks like this as you're designing with the designer templates. So streamers 1, we're not going to use streamer 2 on this layout, but we will use it, of course, on the second layout. And so a lot of fun ways to just use that one fun border set. And of course, among many other creations. Of course, when you change that paper, it will also change the look in various ways. All right. So that is, for the most part, our left side. Like I said, we'll kind of piece a little bit of that together as we build up that layering. And even on the right side, because of the fact that we're going to get our border out, we're going to place it here. And you'll see I didn't really do a lot of photo mats. I just placed photos. So we'll go through that as well. So before we actually create the right side, I'm going to have us start, or we're going to have cut out our border, just so that I can kind of show you this little bit of tip with this as well. So if you ever, you know, just want to use the streamer set, it's fun because you can use it as a border or a banner streamer, or you can adjust it to kind of meet more of that border look. So to start off with, let's pull out this adorable pumpkin that has the circles. It's on right here. So you want to pull that out. Okay, and it has like another pattern that's that same tone of orange, but it has the circles and then little the classy pumpkins with the roses in it. All right. So what we're going to do is act as if, so this is a border, and I'm going to trace it out, but I'm not going to trace it out as the design as a full. So what we're going to do is make sure your pumpkins are positioned right. So you want them, of course, to kind of position this way. And what I'm doing is making sure that, so it's as if you place this on the top of the page. Okay, so that your pumpkins are going to lay not upside down. You don't want them to be upside down. So I don't trace this way. I'm going to have to tilt it because I don't trace like that. I trace like this. But for the most part, as long as your pumpkins are facing you, we're going to place straight. Say it again. Do you have a question?
Not fine.
Oh, someone just.
Not fine.
There we go. Okay, streamers 1. Here we go. So in this case, because we're just using streamers 1, what I want you to do is, you know where the curve of the wave comes down, looking through the designer template, that's kind of where you're going to go where the straight line meets. Okay. As far as the straight edge of the paper, just to clarify that a little bit. And then just go ahead and trace that. Like so. And then you're just going to go over about 3 inches and make a mark.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So it's a little different. I mean, the borders make simplify this process, but I did want to just kind of stick to the streamers. And so using just a little bit of out of that box thinking and that little bit in a different in its design. So it gives it multiple use. Not only can you create with the adorable design that it is, but you can adjust it to flex in its design as well. So you're going to end up with that, right? So we're going to go ahead and do a straight cut where we marked it about 3 inches over, and then we're just going to cut it up the middle as if it was a border, which is going to give us then that second piece for our layout as we kind of piece this layout together. So if you join the other classes, you can tell that usually we are able to kind of map it out a little bit, and sometimes when you're creating, that happens. But there are some times like this that I come at it more with the approach of kind of playing with one side and then moving over and finishing my other side. So naturally, like if that's something that works for you, then go with it. And like I said, for me, sometimes it's where I can lay out all my designer templates, and sometimes I need to piece it together as I go. Yeah. The last.
Rick, you might want to call Jason and see what time they want to come over tomorrow.
key. You keep on talking through that. Okay, Sarah, can you highlight the last paper, the gray? The gray paper? Sarah, ask that again. I'm not quite sure what that gray paper. Oh, is it like the green gray that you're talking about on the back?
Yeah.
This one? Oh, sorry. Oh, the background sheet, the one that were background?
No, you pulled out like a gray. I thought maybe to matte. Let's see, where's my video?
I haven't gotten to matting yet.
Okay.
So the only two that, well, we're working on top of our background sheets, which is this orange. You should have two of those in the kit. And then the only other paper we've used so far is this one with the circles on it. On that one. Hopefully that clarifies it, but yes. Okay, so like I said, we're going to kind of work from the left to the right for this layout creation. So go ahead and place this over here, and then of course we're going to have one border over here. If you want to ink the edges, you can. I think we're going to go ahead actually in this class. Like I said, there are a lot of, often I'll just ink as I go, but you know what? I think we're going to just leave all the inking towards the end. So let's get all our pieces kind of cut out and gathered and created with, and then we'll come back and just do a whole round of inking at that point.
Excuse me, how'd you do the one on the right side? I only got the left side done.
Okay. So with the border, so we use this one, Streamers 3. And
Okay, I did that.
okay, so lay it, did you trace just the one edge?
Yes.
Okay, that automatically should give you your second piece as long as you go over about 3 inches and do a straight cut. Right, so I did a straight cut and cut it once up that middle. And now I have my two pieces.
Oh, I didn't do that. I messed up.
It's okay. So you can just go ahead and just cut another one, just slim it up, make a straight edge again. And
I see what I did wrong.
okay.
I just got to do it again.
You should have plenty of this paper.
Are they both about the same size? The same width?
Pretty much. Yeah. One's a little bit wider, but because they're separated on the page, they're not going across from each other like previous designs.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we have the border traced out from the streamers. And again, like I said, love using this one. You can find a lot of ideas in the idea books just as is, but to kind of stretch it in various different needs as you go along. It's kind of fun to look at them in diverse, a variety of ways you can use that. All right. So now we get to really kind of just embellish and have fun for a moment. And that's always a fun step to do. So let's go ahead and start, go ahead and trace out our gather number 5. And that is going to be out of the mint. It's kind of like a light mint color. It has white scallops and little, I don't know, little grass. I don't know, just grass little pieces standing out. So that's the one that we're going to cut the bracket out of on this one. And it was really fun in the album because we used both edges as different decorative edges. And in this case, we're going to use it as a full design, like the bracket as it is. So if you want your scallops to go sideways, not be, or up and down, not sideways, then just, again, pay attention to how you have that pattern, and then just gather number 5 towards the edge of your paper to be a very efficient use of your paper. And then we're just going to trace it out. As far as these stencils, those are just doodling lines. So you're just tracing the outer edge of the template for now. Okay, we'll come back and kind of add some doodle lines and things like that. So just go ahead and trace around the whole design as far as gather number 5 designer template goes. Okay.
Does it matter what
If you want, oh, you mean like scallops up or down as far as the pattern goes? So I just made mine made sure that mine were going vertical here on mine. But no, I don't think, and even with this pattern, I don't think it matters too much. So that's really your preference as far as looking through the designer template and saying, oh, I like how that pattern looks. If not, then adjust, flip it to the next side, but just keep it on the outside of that 12 by 12 sheet of paper, however direction you choose to do it. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and trim or detach that. So go ahead and just kind of detach it and then go in and cut the design out of the paper. That's going to help simplify the cut. So you're not wrestling with this big sheet of paper either. Okay. So, I'm just going to start here with the bracket. It's a pretty simple, easy cut. As you follow that guideline to kind of cut out that bracket edge. And then once you get to the scallops, just because of the nature of scallops, of course, I always recommend just slowing down your cuts just a little bit as you take each little curve one at a time. So when I'm cutting out those scallops, I kind of pull back to the back of my scissors when I hit a new curve. And I allowed my left hand to kind of glide that through my scissors. And then I pull back again on the back end of my scissors and go again, and then do the same thing. So kind of stretching that length of that cut for each scallop by itself. Kind of how I've noticed the best to kind of just smoothly cut those out. And again, you can kind of just slow those cuts down as you go. And I'll give everyone a moment to kind of cut this out. I know that it takes just a little bit to kind of cut the scallops out. So make sure to give us all a moment to kind of get to this point. All right. You have the Scallops Fun Borders, then you're probably familiar with this. And I think that any type of scallops is fun because it really gives the overall design just a very fun, kind of like a fancy but classy, like it could be either or depending on what paper you're using, but it really does dress up any design that you add them to. I think that's what's fun about scallops, but just take a moment to cut them out. I was about to ink this because I'm so just used to going to trace cut ink. But like I said, for this class, let's go ahead and get our elements and then we'll just go back and ink them. I also love that feeling when I cut something out and then I go and ink it and I see it start looking like a finished result. That's always a fun feeling for me. So that's why I also love inking. All right. Give you guys another couple seconds, just make sure that we're all there. And then we're going to cut out I'm going to go and have us cut out the streamers number 3 before we do the a la carte, which I love cutting that out because it just makes me so happy as we're cutting little pumpkins. Who doesn't love a pumpkin? So streamers number 3, we're going to cut that out using, let me find which one. The back side of this sheet. So the pumpkins with the ladders on it. We're just going to use a little bit of this, and it's the pattern that's on the back. It's like a cream. Okay. So this one. So again, you're just going to want to flip that over, but make sure that the design, I would say you want to trim out here because you want to keep this design in a 12-inch tack. So just make sure that it's facing you and then flip it over. And then let's go ahead and pick up, I'm going to use that with my nails lately to trace that. And so I'm just going to place it at the top of my page and align it with the edge. So then you don't have to cut out that side. You just line it up on the edge and then you're gonna just trace that around. And get this little corner over here. And do the other one too. Okay. And in this one, you can just kind of detach it by doing this straight cut. Kind of getting that one out of the way, but at the same time detaching it from your 12 by 12 sheet of paper.
Susan,
Yeah.
I excuse the interruption, but for those of us who made the gratitude album, the papers are other than the little pumpkin paper
Okay.
has been used, correct?
Oh yeah, if you
Okay.
sign up for that one, then yes, you're using some of the other ones. So you might have to adjust what patterns you're using. Where
Okay.
if you're trying
Then
to use the leftover of that kit from that class, yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't have any of the dark left, or my dark didn't match.
Okay.
And so I had to use the white, and then I'm just kind of piecing. Really, the only piece I had decorative was the circled pumpkin. But I just want to verify that
Yeah, two different
I was on
classes
the same
for
page.
sure. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect. Thank you.
you're welcome. Okay. Which set is the hollow pumpkin? So Galaxy, this is actually just an a la carte in the shop. It's a single designer template. So it's not in a set, it's just an a la carte of its own. So if you go to the website underneath the category of a la cartes, you'll find the harvest one in there. Okay. So again, you can, if you're ahead, you can kind of ink those and just get that done. But we'll kind of move along on those and then allow everyone to kind of ink them at the finished final touches. Okay, so the harvest a la carte, it's like I said, so much fun. I love creating with it. And we're going to cut that one out of the orange paper. Let me find which one that is. Okay, so there's this orange pattern that's on the back of the leaves. And we're just going to use a little bit of that one. Okay. So I feel like these leaves, it doesn't matter which direction it is, but go ahead and flip that over and grab the harvest a la carte. And again, place it towards the edge of your paper. And let's trace one of those out. And we're not going to trace the stencil parts out. We're actually going to use these as a stencil and layer those on top in this case. So just go ahead and trace that out on the outside, but don't trace these insides and out yet. We don't need to do that yet. Okay. And then kind of cut up around the pumpkin and detach that. And yeah, cut it out. And I love the size of this pumpkin. It's really cute. I don't know if any of you guys have designed with it on a snap frame or a snap circle. I didn't grab it. I should have grabbed it. It's out in my entry table. The little circle that I created with this harvest. But it's just really fun too, because it allows it to kind of show through, but again, do these little layers towards the end of this pumpkin that we're going to be doing in this design. So it's a really cute pumpkin. Really kind of like one of those more focal points, a little bit more of a statement on your page, but perfect for layering as well. All right. Okay. Now, as far as the little stencil parts, cutting those out, we're going to do a little bit of a contrast color here. Still kind of neutral, but let me find it here. Oh, okay, sorry, it's on the back of the circle piece. So that it has a little bit of a different pattern and texture to give a little of that contrast. So your circle piece, we're going to use a little bit of that as well on the back sheet. And so to kind of add those stencil pieces on top, you're just going to lay it on this piece of paper and trace each little element out on its own. And so you'll trace the first one, but I would recommend moving that circle over a little bit more. Again, just, I don't know, to save your paper a little bit. And you can even go upwards so that you're not going across and keeping that 12-inch width and length intact. So on this third one, I'm just going to move it upwards instead of going over and trace it out on its own as well. Okay, so you'll have 3 different little pieces that we're going to trace out of this pattern. And then of course, detach it and we'll cut those out. And in this case, we might go ahead and just ink the pieces, because whenever I do stenciling work in the sense of adding layers or patterns on top of another design or a template that I use, I like to always piece them together so that I'm not searching for those pieces as I continue my layout. So let's go ahead and cut those out. Let's just go ahead and ink these pieces as well, and then grab some adhesive and let's place them down, since they'll be super cute on the pumpkin. Okay. And the next one. So, okay. All right. Okay, so then yes, I recommend inking those. It's going to help with, again, even the contrast. It's fun to kind of throw another pattern. You could do the same pattern if you wanted to on this little pumpkin and still ink the edges and have that kind of show through. You could also choose to take, you know, a pen and just doodle them on versus cutting them out of another paper and layering them on top. So those little cut edges out of sight of the designer templates can be used as a stencil, doodle line, however you want to, but lots of fun variations of ways that you can incorporate those. Okay. I think I always get the most quiet during inking because it just kind of get lost in it. So you can see it's going to lay like this on your pumpkin. So you'll layer that oval one kind of in the center of this bottom hump there, and then these ones on the edge. And like I said, go ahead and add some adhesive. I ran to the store, you guys, to pick up some adhesive because I'm still waiting for mine to show up from the last class. Said it would show up today, but it didn't. So as far as the tracking said it was, but this way I can finish a layout too. I always love finishing a layout. I have the other one just kind of, I guess from the Thursday class is what I'm referencing here. Didn't have any adhesive for that Thursday class. And so I finished the layout, but I can't put it together yet. So it's not quite finished. And that's kind of always a sad thing. It's great when you can start and finish a project. And then of course, you can ink the edges if you want on this one, just to kind of finish off this little pumpkin. So you can see how cute it could be, even with like, I don't know, you could even do like a few pumpkins if you really wanted to stack them up. So again, in this class, really kind of expressing to you guys, if you want to add layers, then you can add more layers as you go along, or you can backtrack after we're kind of done with this layout and say, you know what, I am going to take a moment and add a few more layers, or you can simplify it, whatever style you personally prefer. I'm going to go ahead and replace that with the design template as we go along here, and so forth. Okay. Now we're going to add our little details. So we're going to trace out some more of these little small detail embellishments here that we have. And to start off with, let's go ahead and cut out some of our green leaves, as those are kind of tucked behind the back here. And that green that we're going to be using, we're going to go pull this scallop pattern back out, and the green is on the back. So the scallop pattern, those soft scallops that we used on the bracket here, and then the greens on the back. Because this is a little bit lighter on the side, it could be beneficial to just trace on this side. So you could trace one straight up and then flip it and trace another one, so that you have one that goes this way and then the other one's going to go the other way. Because when you flip over this, it will mirror what you traced. So
What are the two tiny plants, a la carte things are you using there?
we're going to end up using 4T and 7T.
What's 4T look like? Because I can't find 4T in mine.
Like a
It's like
flower,
I'm missing one.
little flower in that one.
No.
Now you could do, you might have email support if that's the case, but you could probably swap it out for 5T if you
I
want.
got 5T, but I don't know, my 4T is missing here.
Huh.
And I just now opened it.
Yeah, just email support@accumulating.com. They can help you with that if you just opened it up.
Okay, so you're using 4T and 7T.
Yes. Yeah, and we're going to cut 2 7Ts out. So if you prefer to trace it on the lighter side, a little bit easier to see in this case, then you can just, flip it, make sure you're flipping it and cut 2 of them out. I'm going to just trace mine on the green side, but I did want to mention that because it is something that, if that is helpful to you, that you can kind of pay attention to and say, oh, you know what? I'm going to use the other side of trace because it's a little lighter and easier for me to see. Not too bad on this one either, but it's kind of like a gray green, so it can tend to kind of hard to see the gray pencil if that's the case. Depends on your light too, I think sometimes. Okay, that's good light. So this plant 7T, you can see that it's smaller in its design. Again, very great for little accent touches, which is what I suggest tiny plants for, really just accent details. So you just want to kind of hold it down and move your fingers as you take each piece by section. So you'll see that I kind of held it up here, traced the bottom, and then I moved my fingers and then placed it down here at the bottom. It's like a play to create piano. It's like, that's what I felt like.
Susan, I'm sorry. What are the tiny plants that you're using?
7T and 4T.
7 and 4. Okay. Why I had, never mind.
Okay. So yeah, 4 and 7. The T just means for tiny. So,
Right. 4 and 7.
yep. Yeah.
There we go.
So you'll just trace 2 of the 7Ts out of a green paper or whatever you want that kind of pop of color to kind of tuck in behind these other layers we're going to add. And it's a great one for that. It's really fun. I've used this actually a lot of projects already once it's been released. I feel like I'm constantly grabbing for it to use them. you know, sometimes you look at a design and you say, I just need a little bit of something and I'm not quite sure. That's where tiny plants is going to come in handy. The little touches of layers. All right, so
Hey, Susan,
yep,
you said 2 of the 7s and 1 of the 4s, right?
correct.
All out of the green.
No, so the 4s get out of the stripe, so we're only cutting the green.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Yep, 2 7s out of that green one. Not. So kind of the same thing with the tiny plants. Actually, I'm going to start again. I didn't kind of share that. Let me finish this one off and then I'll cut the next one and kind of walk you through some little insights, especially come in handy with these more detailed elements. And the trick is really to glide that through with your left hand or your opposite of your cutting hand. So really kind of using your cutting hand and keeping it still here. And then just doing some quick, well, not even quick, just slow shortcuts. And then you'll see that I'm moving this paper as I feed it through that scissors. And it really comes in handy for this because you'll see here, I pulled my scissors back. And now I'm going to flip it, the paper back the other way. I can go up the other little leaf here. And that's really very helpful to kind of feed that through your scissors. Kind of keeping that cut continuous in a way, but kind of pulling back where needed. Once you kind of get to that mid tip of your scissors, go back to the edge, go back to the end of that scissors and then start again and kind of feed it through as you go to the tip and then pull back and go to the back again and then do it again. And those round designs or edges, kind of similar to the scallops in that sense. You just kind of let that cut go, wrap around those edges by feeding it through your scissors. Okay. I'll just ink this as I let you guys kind of cut those other 7 T's out for a minute. If you already cut yours, you can feel free again, like to ink them if you want. And this is, of course, a really good example of where the design, because of the little detail, the smallness and the details, the dauber really helps to kind of pull back those other leaves and get in between them. And I just kind of do a good solid ink on those ends. Okay. So yeah, so we're going to cut 2 7 T's out of that green paper. So I'm cutting both of those. And I forgot to flip mine. So that works though. Actually, that's probably what I did. But if you flipped it, then you can have them kind of go like that. But after I sat there and talked to you guys about flipping it, I didn't flip it on the green side. But actually, I think that's even how I had it. So clearly it works either way. All right. And I like, especially with these little ones, I stick them back into my tray here. I'm a little bit more aware of those smaller ones. Like when I get done with them, I stick them back in because too often sometimes they get stuck between little papers or something. So, okay, so as far as the 4T of tiny plants, we're gonna just cut that out a little bit of the corner of the stripe paper. So you have the stripe paper, it has like a creamy crisscross on the back. And we're just gonna take this little piece and we're gonna cut it out of the corner of that paper. Or trace and cut that out of the corner. That pencil needs to be sharp. I'm gonna pull in my mechanical pencil. Mechanicals are really nice just because they always have that point. Okay, so just again, kind of hold the edges. It is small details. So you just want to kind of hold that down as you trace around those edges. And then detach that. Put your paper to the side. You won't need it for a moment. And then place that up around. So same thing, this one has round corners, just like our scallops. Same thing with our little 70 tiny plants. Same kind of mindfulness as far as cutting. Pull back to the back of your scissors, feed it through with your left hand, and then continue that cut up and around, right? And then pull back again. And then kind of feed it through, turn it, and do the next one. So you're just going to go up and kind of feed that through, glide it through, stop, push it back the other way, and then glide it through. So really on those round type of designs, you kind of want to keep your cut continual in the sense of we're not going like this. But really feeding it through with your other hand helps a lot. And of course, just slowing those cuts down just a little bit for each loop that you do on this flower. See? I'm just inking to kind of give you guys a moment. Cut those out as well. I know they can just be a little bit more getting familiar with them if you're not familiar with them. I'm trying to slow down just a moment since I can have a tendency to go a little faster. All right. All right, there we go. Oh, Paula says she's an X-Acto knife or tool. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, Paula, if you're comfortable with things like that, 100%. I'm more comfortable with scissors. So I stick towards my scissors. Me and my scissors, you know, we're pretty comfortable with each other, but absolutely X-Acto tool is a good idea and suggestion for those that might be more skilled in that as well. She says she cuts faster. So that's good to know. Oh, so sorry, you were answering Sarah's question. I see Sarah's question. Yeah, it's not a no-no, Sarah. She asked, does anyone else use an X-Acto or is it a no-no? You can use an X-Acto if you want. I just don't find it's, I find it's a little bit more clunky for me personally, and a little bit more because of that, not as fast for me in efficiency. But again, each of us have different skills in that. So, all right. Looks like a few of you guys are still cutting out those little details. I'll give you a moment. If you already are to the rows, so when we cut out this 5T, I was left over with this little scrap of paper. And if you have this lying around, this rose is going to fit perfectly on that. And that's the paper we're going to cut it out of. If you want to pull out the bigger sheet, it's the one that has the ladder, and you basically just trace a little bit out of that. But I do have this piece from when we cut this piece out. So hopefully you have it sitting in your little scrap pile on that. So that's what you're going to trace out the rows. And if you haven't used this rose yet, again, it has stencil lines, just kind of what I was sharing with you on those features on the other designer templates. And so you're just going to trace the outside edge, use it as a template. And in this case, we are going to use it as a doodling line, not as a stencil. You just trace that outside of it. If you want, before you cut it out, go ahead and take your pencil and trace those lines onto your paper. And then if you guys happen to have any kind of stickles or pearl liquid kind of mentioned in the class supplies list, I'll share with you kind of how you can use that as well. So again, a little extra touches of details. This is kind of like that detail class.
Excuse me, what paper are you cutting the rose out of?
It's the cream that's on the back of the pattern that has the ladders and the pumpkins.
Oh, okay.
But you should probably, if you cut this piece out, it's the same pattern. You should have this little sheet similar to what you see I have here. You probably had a scrap of paper fall off or something, which if that's the case, it fit perfectly. And I love using my little like whenever I have little scraps, that comes in handy with the accessories, is to use your scraps for that. Otherwise, pull out the sheet of paper and then stick it to the edge like we've been doing and just cut one out. Okay.
Are you cutting out the little lines and or the stencil part inside of the rose, or just the outline?
Just the outline. Yep.
Yeah.
Just the outline. The other one's just the doodling that is inside. And you can either leave it with the pencil, but I'll show you here in a moment. It can also act as a guideline to maybe add little extra details with stencils or things like that. Okay. So yes, we're just going to cut out the outside of that rose. And I'm going to ink the edge of this one. And like I said, I'm going to give everyone a moment to kind of cut that out. Submit. Looks like someone's just joining us.
Are you?
Go ahead. Do you have another question?
Yeah, are you drawing the lines inside of the rose or not?
Yes, I drew the lines inside the rose. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Sarah says, maybe my scissors are terrible. What does everyone recommend? Sarah's scissors make the world of a difference. Yes, and they, it's so peculiar to me, but I have witnessed it so many times, and they're specific to individuals. So it's like, I love a good pair of scissors like Tim Holtz or the Fisker ones that we offer in the shop. Those are good pair of scissors, not too pricey. We're talking about $15, $18, whatever that is, but really good. So a 3 pair of scissors, no, awful. Don't do a $3 pair of scissors that you pick up from the little preschool section. Yeah, good pair of scissors. But with that said, they're different for each individual, which is why we ended up just offering the 3 that we recommend at kiwilane.com in the tool section, is because I'm pretty comfortable cutting with scissors, but I prefer the Tim Holtz scissors myself. Shiloh prefers these ones. I do have them in my stash, but as you can see, I barely ever use them. I always go back to the Tim Holtz ones, but these are great. They do have a spring in them for those that maybe have a little bit more tightness or arthritis or things like that they kind of deal with. I will say that that is a benefit to the
Susan, those are the ones that I use, and I have RA.
Okay.
And not having that thumb piece around my joint is so much better.
So beneficial. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, and it has a very smooth cut too.
Exactly.
Yeah, Shiloh loves the smooth and like you were just mentioning. So there's two benefits or needs for that one. See, that's why I love Tim Holtz is because it has a ridge. So it feels like a little bit more of a texture cut and it makes me feel like my cut's not ahead of me.
Right.
Shiloh
Yeah,
loves
but the
about-
handle goes around your thumb joint.
Yeah,
And as long as you're cutting, as much as you're cutting, if you spend a lot of time, it rubs and inflames the joint.
oh, absolutely. I agree with that. Yes. Luckily, I
So-
don't have that, but yes, 100%. If that's something, this is what I would recommend then for that type of thing is this Fisker scissors.
Both of those are in the store.
They are. These are
Yeah.
both in the store.
Okay, thank you.
The third one, see, this is not to add to the complex, is this one. It's a Cutter Bee, and this is the one that Debbie uses. We always tease her, but she still is like, no, I'm adamant that I love it. So it has smaller handlers, but it's a really, really good cut. They're not tearing your paper. So like I said, good pair of scissors will help smooth the cut and also make it not feel so like you're working at it. The scissors will do a lot of the work for you. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we cut our little flower out. Now, you could choose to layer it on top and see if you love that little look. You'll see over here, I actually decided to crumble it. So I added a little stickles inside of mine, and you can use white. I'm going to use green on this one because that's the one I pulled out. If any of you happen to pick up any liquid pearls or anything like that, it is going to be really fun to add those little details. Personally, I add this at the end because it has to dry, but I do, since we're here on this step, I'm going to go ahead and share it and try to be really careful. But if you want to wait, you can do it at the end. But it looks really cute with the pencil, right? And you could crumble it and then just uncrumble. And it just gives it a little bit more texture. And I'm going to crumble it again and push those a little bit more and then open it back up carefully. And then maybe just round, flip it or rub, flatten those where you feel needed. But I feel like it just kind of bends that flower up just a little bit in its edges. And then if you want, again, it's really cute with just this doodling of the pencil, but then if you want to use those pencil lines as a guideline to add, say, liquid pearls, you would just follow those lines and add some liquid pearl, and then stickles, if you have some stickles that kind of coordinates with this paper. So this, what is it called? Sage. It actually worked really beautifully with this paper. I pulled it out and I was pretty happy with the color matching of it. And it just happened to accidentally do that. So that's the one I would recommend, or just a basic white, like I said. So using them as a guideline or keeping them as a doodle line is completely up to you. But two different little detail touches to kind of go along with the other details that this layout is turning out to be. Let me give you a kind of a close look at that. So again, if you want to add it at the end, like I said, usually when I add these, I do just set it to the side and wait till the end. But if you do it now, put it somewhere so that it can dry and that you don't bump into it. I've done that a few times on that. All right. Now, as far as, gonna see what I did on those ones. That's right. It's gonna be from the title cards. Okay. As far as the wheat goes, I actually used the little extra space that comes around this title card because I wanted more of a solid yellow. And so I found that on this card. And so you're going to take gather 2, and this card's still going to be usable, but we're just going to take a little off of those edges for our little pieces of touch here. And you don't need to, because this is just going to tuck into the rows. And so just go ahead and basically just trim or trace out the top part of this wheat. We're not going to have it stretch out too far behind that rose. So there's no point to tracing out that trim with that stem of it.
The stalk part?
The stalk part? Yeah, just trace out the top stalk part. And we want to trace 2 of those. So again, just kind of keeping it at the bottom part of this card.
What are those little things you're cutting out now?
Gather number 2. They're little wheats.
And you're cutting 2 of them out of that hello fall.
Gorgeous, beautiful fall title card, correct. And
Are you doing the whole stem too, or just the wheat?
just the wheat?
Okay,
So yeah.
thank
so
you.
Yeah, you can kind of see I just traced out 2 of those.
Okay,
and
gotcha.
I'm going to, where did I put my scissors? Oh, I put them away with the other ones. Just detach that here. Still making use out of this title card, but taking advantage of that pattern that I wanted as well. Okay. And then as far as cutting the wheat goes, this is where you're going to do more of a snip. So I kind of shared with you the whole feeding it through for more of those round edges. We did a border where you do some quick short cuts. And then this one, we're going to kind of do a clipping cutting approach. And whenever I do clipping, I always pull out a sheet of paper and place it down so that it catches all my clippings. And then we're just going to snip in. Like that's all I do is I kind of snip in the top parts. Right? So that's kind of what I mean by a clipping approach, is instead of doing, you know, where I was feeding my paper through, we are going to kind of change the approach here and snip into those designs. And I'm just doing the top part, and I just go downwards, and then I'm going to come back and do that bottom part. And I'm doing them just as a straight cut, even though those corners have a little bit of a roundness. I'm just simplifying it and doing that clipping approach. So we'll just kind of clip those off. And then, like I said, this is, I like my little paper to catch my clipping so I don't have to clear them out of my design, because usually I'm working over my design unless you have a lot of working space, which is great if you do, but yeah, I've learned over time to just kind of, when I can pull out something like that, just kind of tackle it and clip those through. Okay.
Rick, what are you watching?
So that's all you'll need to do there. And then we'll do the same thing. So kind of taking each side, clipping in with your scissors, moving it down to the next layer, clipping it. You'll find this when you see a design or something kind of going through over time. Oh, you know what? I should change to more of a clipping approach instead of the feeding, I guess, through the cut. I'm trying to think what you call it, you know, approach. or the continual cut approach, kind of, you know, moving your scissors through, say, a border or something. So there are definitely different little things you want to change up based off of what you're actually cutting out. Anytime I see straight edges or straight things, like I'm trying to think, I instantly kind of tackle it that way. I'll give you guys a moment to do that. Like I'm trying to find another example. Well, like the sun, where's that one? Yeah, again, any kind of straight edge, like this one, I would come in and I'd clip each of those out. And actually, this is what I do. I'd cut, and then I'd clip, 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 clip. So that's kind of a good example of that. All right. So yes, on these wheats, that's what I found super helpful. They do add just a little accents. So really expanding those accents on your pages. Just fun time to time to just really build up the little details on the page. And once you combine all of those little details, they really make a fun little cluster. Okay. And then, like I said, oh yeah, go ahead and ink them. I'm inking them. So then I take my little clippings, and those are going to go into the trash. Then I have all the clippings hanging out everywhere. I just feed them, tip them into my trash. All right. So my rose is drying for a moment. Otherwise, you would have your rose, a little flower, your leaves, a little bit of touches of wheat color coming out of here, and then you tuck that in as well, like so. Now, if you've already inked all the other pieces, then you're definitely ahead on that, so that's great. We're not doing any photo maps, so just kind of, you can mark a 4x6 if you want. If you don't have your pictures, you could do something like that, right? 4x6 here, so you know that you're going to also tuck a 4x6 picture into this. And then again, kind of finishing out the left side of this page, we're going to pull out the Gather Together title card. This one, the Gather Together title card. And I also used, let's see where it is, the journaling card in here. Oh, okay. Autumn Stories. So we're going to actually clip both of those down to work towards this look. Okay. Let me actually measure what I cut those down to, 2 inches. So taking your paper trimmer, I did trim off the top of this title card. I kept the Autumn Stories because, you know, I think it could be really cute, you know, tucked maybe like up on your photo here. But I really just wanted a straight little accent piece here at the top. And then go to 2 inches. Once you trim off the top piece, go to 2 inches and you're going to trim off that bottom piece. So you might have another place you find a need for that. So just go ahead and set that to the side. So now we have that 3x2 piece there. And then we're going to do the same thing here on this card. Trim off about a 1/2 inch on the bottom of the card. Okay. Then flip that and then go to 2 inches and trim it down to 2. So you're going to be left with a 2x3 as well on this. And then those are just going to go
Can you say how to cut those again, please?
You bet. Okay. So starting with this piece, this title card. Okay.
Okay,
You're going to cut Autumn Stories off. So go ahead and
Okay.
turn that off.
okay,
And then taking what you have left, go to 2 inches. You want to go to 2 inches here and trim that down to 2 by 3. And you'll get left with this piece at the bottom here. So 2
okay.
by 3. Okay, so I'll give you a moment to kind of do that. All right. And then with this other title card, which was 3 by 4, you're going to want to trim off 1/2 inch from the bottom. So go ahead and trim off 1/2 inch from the bottom. And then once you trim that off, then you're going to flip it and go to 2 inches, and you'll just want to end up with a 2 by 3 piece as well. So you'll end up with both of these 2 by 3 pieces from those. Well, I guess this is not, this is 2 by 4 and this is 2 by 3. So, and then you can save these little strips, and, you know, again, like I said, I think this would be really cute, kind of tucked here if you want. There's a little accent piece again. So I think we're going to say accent a lot. Just little details, accents is kind of the style of this kind of approach to creating of your layouts. And again, you can add to the details by little twine and embellishments and brads, and really have fun embellishing those sections up, or simplify it. Either way works. So, okay. All right. So now, as far as finishing out this top left corner detail here, with all the pieces we'll want to finish trimming out here. So on the title card, just to add that little bit of a detail of skin, you're going to flip it around and then just tear that left side of the card. Take about 1/2 inch off and just tear it off. Okay. And then I just kind of took it and rolled it back just a little bit, just again for a little extra touch, having that color that's on the back side kind of peek through. This is my daughter, Riley. Hi. I don't know if they could see you, Anyways, they could see my hands, not my face right now. You guys just get done eating? Yeah. Okay, I'm not done. I'm doing my class. Okay. So that will just shorten that length a little bit when you tear off that little edge. Okay, so just again, little accent piece. And then we're going to cut out a little scallop just to kind of trim it up as well, to give it a little bit of a trimming. And that's going to be out of the stripe pattern. It has the yellow on the back. So the stripe on the one side. And in this case, we are going to grab our little bracket scallop piece again. This piece, and we're just going to use that scallop edge to just trace out a little bit of a scallop. So let me see here. Okay, so 6 inches. So you could do this a few ways. You could either, for example, I would just go to the straight edge, and I would measure up 6 inches if you can. Here, so measure up 6 inches and mark that. kind of at the end of your ruler there. Okay, and then we're going to take the scallop edge, because that's the decorative edge we want to do. And you're going to come over about, I don't know, probably 1.5 inches from the side of your paper, right? So I'm going to lay it on top of my paper. I'm going to come out about 1.5 inches from the edge of the paper where the design ends. And I want to make sure that I'm going all the way up a little past the 6-inch mark that I made. And then we're going to trace out just the scallop edge. And this is going to leave you with this little piece that we're going to cut out, right? And then we'll tuck it up underneath those two pieces. So I'll kind of let everyone kind of get to that point. If you need me to explain any of those little elements up here in the left-hand details, let me know. And you could even add just variations, like if you wanted to, again, add a little extra, you could fold up a corner if you wanted to, just because, and you could fold it up and put a little brad tucked in the corner. You could do, you could tape it down, adhere it down, and take, the liquid pearls and just add a little daub of like an enamel dot effect, right? So I'll kind of leave that one tucked up, but just, again, just tearing and folding and contrast of elemental things can add details. We're going to go ahead and detach that section that we're going to be working with here. Just do a straight cut where you made that 6-inch mark. And then trim the scallop edge out. Again, kind of feeding that through your scissors. So just keep feeding it through, one scallop at a time. And that, of course, will be tucked right up underneath here of these two once we adhere it all down on our page. And you'll, of course, want to add some journaling and just a fun little place that can, I guess, host your journaling for you, right? It's like kind of a nice focal point. And then you have this other focal point here. Let's see if this is dry. Oh, it is. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to give us a moment. I'm going to go ahead and start inking my pieces. So if you haven't done that, before we transition to the right side of the page, just giving us a moment to kind of finish up these details on the left side, and then we will switch gears and go to the right side of our page. So again, just kind of inking those, taking advantage of the dauber to get down to the cracks there. I do love how this brown ink really showcases with these color palettes. I think it really complements this color palette nicely. Now on this one, if you haven't inked it already and you are about to, there really is no need to ink the bottom edge of this because we're going to layer the other pieces on top of it. So unless you want you know, to finish it off. I totally get it, because sometimes my mind is like, no, I have to, but you don't have to. It won't be part of your finished design in this case. And then we'll ink this one. So I was stopped by the store today. Holy cow. I don't know if anyone else went to the store today. Definitely, I think the Saturdays for the next few weeks are just gonna be cray cray, and it's already beginning. It was so busy out there. So many cars, and the grocery store was packed, and it was just, yeah, 'tis the season, right? And with Thanksgiving, I think everyone's just out doing Thanksgiving shopping probably too, which is what I was doing. So I guess all of us had the same idea, to wait till the weekend before. And I actually didn't even get everything, so I'm gonna have to go back out and either on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, I don't know yet, but and get the rest of the things I need. But I'm looking forward to Thanksgiving. I hope you guys are as well. It's definitely, I don't know, just will be nice. Love the
Hey, Rick, did you turn the oven off?
No, I didn't turn the oven off.
I was talking to my husband. Oh my goodness, I didn't know you could hear me.
It's okay. Good thing to ask. It's better safe than sorry, right? Did you turn the
I
TV?
have him cooking his own dinner since I'm doing this.
Well, that's good. Good for him.
Oh my.
All right, guys. So kind of, you know, we can actually just adhere the left side and then move to the right side. So once you have those pieces all cut out, the layers, the different layers, you can, you know, once you have it cut out and inked, then we're just going to adhere those pieces down, starting with our border, just because it's on the bottom layer here. And really, when it comes to borders, I just kind of add a little bit to the corners, and then also to the middle. And then based off of the design here, you're probably going to go about an inch up from the bottom of your paper. And that's just a way I kind of assess, but not be too specific, but just kind of gauge where to place that and then just lay that down. Okay. And that's going to help you gauge the rest of the components, right? So kind of just reassessing. I always like to pull my pieces back really fast and to where the spots I want them to be. And then going to that bottom layer again. In this case, we'll want to pick up all these components and just move them to the side for a moment. And then you'll just lay this one pretty much actually lined up right where the top of that border is. So adding some adhesive, centering it on your page the best that you can, and then just placing that down. On the scallops, we didn't actually finish that detail, did we? So it's really no different than that kind of what we did with the rose, using these little fun designs that also come in just another fun feature in these designer templates here. And so you can use them as doodle lines if you prefer the doodle lines, but if you're going to use them as guidelines, then you just can make a mark, you know, trace those onto your design. Then I'll go back and add some pearl liquid on top. Kind of what I was sharing with you, often what I'll do is I'll get all my pieces down and then just go back and have that be my last step, because then I can kind of set it to the side and just let it dry completely. So that's probably what I'll do the case here. You can see that. And because everything else is tucking into this bracket, I use pop-up because I think it just gives it a little bit of dimension and variation to heights of the layers. So just add a few pop-up if you want to the back of that bracket. And go ahead and place that down. And this is going to go kind of midsection of your border. So again, we are going to be tucking things into it. So you can kind of place it down towards the bottom, just covering that bottom section of that other, well, the streamers that we used here from the designer template approach, but or design reference. And go ahead and place that down on your layout. Okay. All right. Then our harvest pumpkin is going to kind of tuck in there. And that's the next bottom layer. So that will be the next one. You can adhere it down. Oh, if you want to add some twine, little details, we're going to, you can take a little bit of twine, wrap it around, and just tie a knot if you want. Again, these little details are up to you, how much you want to add, or if you want to simplify it, completely up to you.
Hey, Susan, on the bracket, what did you do for the doodling?
What did I do for the doodling?
Yeah.
I just doodled it for now, but I'm going to probably go back and add a little bit of liquid pearl.
Okay, so you just used a pencil and you just drew on top of the thing. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yep. Okay, and kind of tuck your pumpkin in. We have a wandering twine here. Let's see if I can twist that to go downwards. Or maybe I should have tied it upside down so that it would go down. Okay, there we go. Pull on it a little bit. All right, and then as far as these other pieces, you can again add a little adhesive to these. Tuck those in. Kind of poking up, probably tilting up a little bit, like so. I didn't push it down yet. I'm just gonna kind of get all my pieces in place, add a little adhesive, and then I'll go back and secure them in. But sometimes I don't like to push down quite yet until I have them kind of all placed together. And same thing with our wheat in here. These are really, when I say little details, like whether it's the twine, they're really just simple details, nothing too extravagant or anything by all means, just little details that you could do on those. And another fun thing is to take thread, like sewing thread, and you'll see it here. Let me pull this up so if you can see that little detail behind the rows. I just clustered some thread and we're going to place that behind there. So if you happen to have that from the supplies list, otherwise it's just kind of a fun technique you can think of. And like I said, I now keep all this thread next to my scrapbooking supplies. So really what we're gonna do is basically make a puddle of thread. So I wrap it around about 3 of my fingers, and you're just gonna get a good amount. I'm just gonna wrap it around. And I like to do this more when I find myself doing a certain design that does have this more clustered, where a lot of elements are kind of layered next to each other. And I feel like it just kind of gives it a little bit of a back texture to it. So we end up with this, right? Just a round thing of thread. And then this is the end of it. So I kind of just pull that back towards the middle, and then you just kind of make a mess of it at that point. You just pull it apart from the amount that you just winded up. And you want to just kind of like puddle it back together in a mess. That's really it. There's like, it will be different each time you do it. And then you could just take some adhesive, and where you're gonna have it be, you just kind of push it down into that spot. And I will say, whenever I do this, it's always, something's always on top of it, right? It's just coming outside of the edges of it. So in this case, we'll have our little, rows on top of hiding where we just added that adhesive. So I'll probably just add a little bit more and then place my rows down. Actually, I think I'm gonna pop my rows up with some pop-up. So I'm gonna add a little pop-up here, maybe one more. Kind of pop that up there. And then our next flower, same thing. I'm gonna add a little bit of pop-up. You can bend in those petals just a little bit by creasing them with your fingers and pop up that. So it might look a little bit different, various different ways as you push those together. So this is why I didn't want to push it down yet, because I think these green pieces can come in just a little bit. Just a little bit more snug inside of those. And then now I'll push it down on those. Okay. Now I just added a little embellishment to the center of this flower. If you want a little circle punch, if you have a circle punch, that's an easy center of a flower. If you have little prima flowers in your stashes, let me think what I have handy over here. Oh yeah, so this is what I used on this layout. Let me grab it. Which happened to just go with this paper as well. And I just picked these up at Hobby Lobby. So they're just a little pack of little burlap flowers, which kind of was the perfect size to fit inside of that tiny plants. So let me kind of bring that up to kind of see. So little details again. Definitely when it comes to the center of flowers, you can pull in some of those stashes of elements, accessories, embellishments that you might have in your stash. You don't need much though, again, but if you want, you really could add a lot of details actually. Let me see here. This actually is a fun little pack because it's neutral. So, I think it's a little bit more flex in how variety of projects that you can use. I've had these for a while, but I've used them on various different projects. They're really fun. So yeah, I just picked these up at Hobby Lobby, but I was just thinking if you really wanted to add more details, see, this is what I mean when I say like, you could just add a couple random ones around that as well if you wanted to. So kind of like that intermediate of like not too much, a little simple, but for variety and versions. I wanted to share that with you guys so you can kind of see what you think and kind of create it to your liking. See? And then the last piece is, of course, is just to adhere this down. So we're going to start with the scallop. We're going to adhere that kind of where we had it. I'm just going to line it up at the edge of the page and then come out from the page. And then same thing, we're going to add our title here. And layer that on top of the scallop, but align it with the side of your paper. And then this one will go on the top. All right, and then I want it to not only align with the top of the other title piece, but I want it to align with the end of the scallop edge that we have there too, as well. Okay, so that's kind of what you'll end up there looking like. So again, this is a 4x6 picture. You could do 2 3x4s if you want. Once you kind of go back and add your pictures, let me show you what that could look like. Right, you could tuck 2 3x4s in there. Could be really cute. So if you have a little bit more pictures you want to fit, or it's a great jumping point. Sometimes when you have these left sides being more of a focal with one picture, and then it leads into more of that story that's being told through your pictures, right? So kind of adding a little bit more of that, those onto the right side. But a lot of variations you can do there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and add my details pretty much now that my page is done. I guess this is where, if you feel pretty confident with working with the pearl things. So if not, you can kind of add it before. But yeah, then at this point, you can use it as a stencil or a guideline to add other details like I said, like the liquid pearl or stencil or stickles would also be along the same line, or keep it as just a doodling line. Just take your time as you do each one, but you can see it not only adds a little bit of pop of detail, but it also adds a little bit of pop of texture as well, because it's lifted. And I'm not even going to bother really going, well, I might lift that and go behind this one. So I'm just kind of working around only the ones that are going to show. Oh, no. And then again, the key is to let it dry. So let that dry. I might just add a dot like I mentioned here for more of that enamel dot look. Sometimes you can go a little happy with this. So sometimes you have to tell yourself that's again, unless that's like what you're going for. I have to sometimes tell myself, nope, stop before you overwhelm the layout. Okay. MJ, I'm really enjoying these classes and I'm so appreciative of your time, Susan. Are you planning more in the coming weeks? Yeah, we have a few planned in December. It'll be a little bit lighter in December just with the holidays and everything, but yes, we're going to keep them going. So make sure to keep checking your inbox and emails, and or going to the website if you go to kiwilane.com/events, you'll always see kind of what is on the schedule in related to classes. And here, I'll go ahead and drop that link. But yeah, you can also just go to the website, right? Like here, let me see if I can share it really quickly. For the sake of, as everyone kind of finishes that up. Okay, so if you go to kiwilane.com, I'm not logged in right now, but if you were logged in, right? Or you could see it after I was just on the page. So if you're not logged in, but I always recommend logging into your account. And then you go up to community and go to events. You kind of see what we have. And this is the last one of the month. There was like 4 other ones there. And this is the upcoming ones. But we are actually having a lot of updates on this page by the end of this month, actually. So we'll have the craft-in schedules, we'll have craft-ins as a category, classes as a category, and then even workshops, which are a little bit different than classes. Workshops are a little bit more about how-tos. In classes, we're going to go step by step, like you're able to create along and actually finish a project. So I believe we're going to get the December ones out next week. So you'll be able to check those out, RSVP for reminders and get that information.
Hey, Susan, what's the difference between, okay, I know what a class is. What's the workshop? What's the other one?
Craft-ins?
The craft-ins. What's that?
So craft-ins are just what we do on the Facebook page, and like creative partners sign up and they just share ideas to inspire and inspiration and tips and tricks. And it's just more of our episodes, like our day-to-day schedules that you can kind of tune in and catch the replays. And it's just ideas to inspires that are shared from other creative partners.
Like the pumpkin banner, that would be
yeah.
Okay. Got it.
So we'll get those updated with all of that. Craft-ins haven't been added to that because it's a new page we're creating, but in the coming month, we should have that all actually updated at that point. So yeah. All right, guys. So kind of moving on to this left side carefully, because I still have that. Here, I'm gonna actually move my page because I don't want it to smear. This one. Place that down below. Okay. So with our left page, again, if you don't have your pictures and you want to kind of mark it, these are 3x4s, and you're doing 3 3x4s. Well, you're doing 6. So that's what we're going to be using there. One of the spots I used a 3x4 title card, which is this one, and you can incorporate that one into the design here on that. And or you can do another photo. So if you want another 3x4 photo, or you want to change up the photo places, you can use the photo sets to kind of decide on new strips of photos if you want like 4x6s in the mix. But either way, just really incorporating your photos in kind of this row of photos is really fun. It's kind of like a reel of photos, and it's really fun. But say you want the farmer's market one instead. So any of those 3x4 cards, here's the other one too. Keep calm and watch the leaves fall. These are all 3 really fun variations and options that you could choose to, in place of this one, do that, or in place of this, and use that spot for a photo in that case. So yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and place that there. So if you want to pull that out. And then the same thing, we're going to do a little bit of a cluster here. And so to make this cluster, I'm going to pull out the ladder from this Kiwi Club templates. Right, and then also the little pumpkin, which we have not used yet. So we're going to cut these little pumpkins out. So this is gather number 1. So you can pull that out as well. So you have it accessible in your reach. And then also the rows, we're going to cut another one of those rows out to kind of balance it over here on the right side. A couple of the wheats, so gather 2. So we're going to use gather 1, 2, 3, and 4 over on this side. And then on the tiny plants, just kind of like as that little detail again, we're going to use tiny plants 3T. And I just have that kind of poking out of the rows here. Really just for a touch of green. As what I was looking for was just a little bit of like, oh, I want to add a touch of that green to the white side and kind of pull that green that we use from the left side over to the right side. So this is, of course, a really cute, if you have tiny plants, it's so cute, you know, various different ways that you can create with those. You can have them as little tops of flowers. In this case, we're going to just use it as a little bit of a touch of accent color here, kind of poking out through. All right, so that's kind of that. And I don't want to go too far ahead. Are we all good? I just kind of want to pull those pieces out. I think we're all good. I think we're all kind of keeping up with each other, but let me know if at any point. So we're gonna do pretty much the same rhythm. So you know that piece that we had, if you happen to have it, I still had a little bit left. We're gonna cut that rose out of the same cream paper. And the reason why I did that again is so that that similarity from the left side came to the right side. That balance of pattern came from the left side to the right side. So we're just gonna use the same pattern we cut the other rows out, which is has the ladders on the one side and the cream on the other, and we're going to cut another rose out of that pattern. So you same steps. We're going to trace the outside of it. You can just doodle the lines in the middle, or you can use the lines as a guideline to add other details like the pearls or anything, if you happen to do that. So either way, you excuse me, you want to trace those lines. Okay. And then we'll cut that out.
I've misplaced my rose.
That at the beginning.
No, it's
I
on
said, you got to put them in the way in their little bucket because they have
I know, I don't have a little bucket. What do you use?
We used to have these. We don't have them in the store anymore, but really any kind of little tray. You could even scan the dollar store or something, even if it's just a little tray that you keep on your table. But
I know I'll find it, but I cannot find it.
no, I've been there. I feel for you. And it's always right there in front of your eyes whenever you're like, where did it go? And then you're looking, and then all of a sudden you look down and you're like, really? Right there.
Don't feel bad. I lost my wheat and I can't find it.
Oh, see? Those little ones, I'm telling you.
I know
Put it in the
I
garbage
Yeah.
can.
Oh.
Oh, I found it. I found it.
I'm still looking.
You'll be next.
I don't have enough of that paper to cut it. I'd have to get something.
Oh.
Another piece, another little piece.
Did you already kind of partially use the kit? You should have plenty of this, because I was just using the scraps, but you should still have this whole sheet left.
Is that the paper you're using for the rose?
Uh-huh.
The back of that one.
The back of this one. And again, you'll just want to take a little piece out of the corner if that's the case.
Are we gonna use that again?
Not in these, the two layouts that we'll be creating, not in the two that are planned.
Okay.
But again, if you're just taking a little out of the corner, if you don't have that little scrap of paper, you'll be fine. So just, don't cut it out of the middle. Just keep it towards the edge.
Okay, just a little corner. Gotcha.
Yeah, a little corner.
Sweet.
Got it?
No.
Ah,
Here, wait. Here, wait. I found it. Thank you.
oh, see?
I feel for you because my one tiny plants, that number 4, I don't have it.
Right.
Oh my gosh, it's funny.
Do I just contact the company or what do I do?
Yeah, just support at kiwilane.com.
Yeah, because I just opened it tonight with you all and it's not in there.
Yeah, sometimes with the
I
manufacturer.
mean, I'll continue to look for it all over my table when I'm done, but
Right.
When in doubt, check your arms. It might be stuck to one of your arms.
Oh, that's.
oh,
It's
my
happened to me many times.
Oh, that's
well, they're
interesting.
so tiny, they stick to everything.
These little ones, they can for sure.
Hey, Susan, the tray that you're using that you used to sell, is that just like a little cutlery tray, or has to be at least 12 inches on the inside, correct?
Wait, sorry, what?
The little tray that you used to put your templates in.
Oh, yeah. So I would recommend, like, at least if you're gonna, for all to work with like the borders and stuff, then at least 12 and a half or 30.
Especially for small pieces, yeah.
But you could get little small one, like, you could, if you wanted it for the small piece, because that's the one where I get, like I said earlier, where I start working with these small pieces, I get
Mhm.
really more
Yeah.
specific to make sure that I'm picking it up and putting it in the tray, because I hate trying to find them.
I know.
You can ultimately find and you can make a mess on your table. So not only is it great to help you just kind of keep order, but it also does kind of help you stay clean.
Yeah.
You put them into the tray. So,
Thank you.
yeah, I've learned that habit over time. All right, guys, as far as these other little details, okay, so let's kind of do the next one. So I wanted to pull that yellow over again, the same wheat that we just did. And so you should have plenty on that title card to kind of get that pattern out and pull it over as well. Let's see. Right, this hello, beautiful, the one that we trimmed it out of the excess, and in this case, we're just going to trim one of them, and you could just go to the top and trim one out of that if you want. So that's going to go out of the yellow. We're going to trim one of those. On that. And then same thing, we want to do the clipping. So I just grab a piece of paper to catch those clips. And start that and then clip in. And then clip the other edges.
Susan,
Yeah.
I was gonna tell the ladies, I was at the Dollar Tree here couple weeks ago, and they have those silverware bins that you can put in your silverware drawer. They're 10 inches long, and you get 3 of them for $1.
So they're 10 inches, so they won't fit the border, but they would fit everything else. So yeah, great, yeah.
And they work really good.
Well, that's kind of like, we had them in the warehouse, but they just were more costly for us to manufacture and ship. And so that's kind of what I recommend everyone to do. I'm like, just find something at the dollar store. It'll work.
I'm lucky I got a set of the ones you have, but for in my tote for like when I scrapbook out at a crop, I use the 10-inch ones so they don't get busted. The 12 inches don't get busted.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's good advice there. Absolutely.
And you can just slide them into a plastic bag
Yeah,
with the template still in there.
right. Well, I'll do that too, since we're on that topic. So, okay, so I go from here. I'll see if I can pin add spotlight. So I keep my templates in here, and I right now use, of course, the sleeves that we have in the shop. And what I'll do is when, like in this case, even with this class, we had a certain sets that we wanted to use. I'll often do that when I start a layout. I'll go through and I'll decide, okay, you know, enchanted accessory is going to be really great. I'm going to use enchanted. I'll probably just use medicine border. So I kind of pre-select what sets I want to kind of direct my attention to. And then I'll pull those out. So I'll just go find them really fast and I'll pull them out of the sleeve like this, right? Because it has this little flap on the insert. And then I stick them in my tray. So then when I start to get to the design phase, I'll kind of already have sets that I was already kind of pre-thinking that would work. Sometimes it works. Sometimes like when I get into the designing step, I'll say, oh, this isn't quite what I needed. And so I'll go back and see what other accessory set that maybe would work better or fit that kind of vision that I was picturing for that layout or theme, you know, because a lot of times we scrapbook by themes. And so that it helps narrow down the options. So you're not so overwhelmed by the options, and it narrows it down, and then you can just kind of play with those and see what you like. But yeah, so when I'm in my tray, I often have them kind of layered like those. Biggest key is to put them back. So sometimes I laugh a little because right now, so this is the one I have out for the class. This one's from the last class. This one's from the class before that one. So come like 3 days, maybe during Thanksgiving break, I'll actually clean up these 4 different trays that I have going on, because I'll just move to the next project and leave that tray there. And I'll say, I'll just clean them up all at the same time. So I literally have 4 trays right now with different projects that need to be put back into its sleeve in a way. So there's a little behind the scenes.
But they also re-nest if they're empty, right?
Huh? Oh
When
yeah,
they're empty, they nest. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
So I'll
Thank
do a cleanup day, and then all of a sudden I'll have all these wonderful empty trays. I'll stack them back up, but then all of a sudden they're full again. And then I have to get back to a cleanup phase, and I'll clean up, and then they'll be full again. It's the same little cycle, but
Never ending.
it works. It's like, because you know, when you want to create, you're like, oh, I should clean up. And I'm like, no, I'll clean up later. I'll get to clean up later.
I just can't work on top of a mess. Like if my desk is all messy, I've got to have a clear space to see everything. So
Yeah.
how do you get me some of those trays?
Yeah, because then you can keep the mess in the trays. But
Right.
like I said, it starts adding up and I start to feel it. And then I say, okay, I need a good purge. I'll purge, bring back the mess. Kind of thing. Yeah, I usually keep this front part clean, but then I have this side of its own little chaos.
I call it the area that's mowed and the area that's not mowed.
The mowed and not mowed.
Yeah.
Good way of putting it.
Susan, if you ever bring those trays back, I'll buy probably 3 or 4 sets.
Like I said, they weren't the friendliest to ship. We compensated on the shipping because Yeah, they're not the friendly, but maybe, who knows, maybe as we get our shipping numbers up, we get a little bit of a ship break is usually how it works, but we'll keep you posted. We'll keep you posted.
Well, everybody sees you using them, then they realize how nice they are.
Yeah. Yeah, they see the somewhat orderly chaos. That's what it is. A little bit of order to the chaos. But all right, go back to my hands. Okay, guys, so also with this sheet of paper, you're gonna cut one of the pumpkins out. It's a little yellow pumpkin too. So I just took the pumpkin and layered it there. That's the same pattern we want to cut that pumpkin out of. You just trace those little pumpkin. And this is gonna stack right on top of our little layers.
Which pumpkin is that?
This is gather number 1. It's you should have been included in the Kiwi Club. Yeah, with the other Kiwi Club kits, templates from this kit. So gather 1 is what it's called. So I've heard other people mention, I actually don't know where they are. The smaller they like say like this, the smaller scissors, but I have not found that beneficial to me. Like they think that like smaller scissors for smaller details would help. But I bring that up because I'm just curious, because I know they have a smaller pair of this and somebody recommended it. I purchased them and then I was like, no, I'll just use the same one.
So Susan, I use all of these. Can you see my hands?
Hold on, I find you. Let me.
I use all 4 of these.
No, I can't find you. Hold on. Stay there for a moment.
Okay.
Is it Val? Where? Who's speaking?
I'm Krishna.
Krishna. I find you. Do you have your video on?
Uh-huh. I'm
Those are
wearing
big-
red glasses.
Those are big scissors.
Yeah, these are
Yeah,
the,
those look like they can do some damage.
they do. This is Tim
Okay.
Holtz.
Oh,
And
yes.
this is Tim.
Ones. Yes.
These are all 3 Tim Holtz. And then I use these a lot of times for just for a little bitty detail.
Hold them up again, like up more. We can't see the bottoms of it.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Good job.
Oh my goodness.
There you go.
Okay.
but,
Yeah.
but I like these the best for little stuff.
The little ones. Yeah, those are what
Yeah.
someone recommended. I had them in my tray, but I don't see them, which means I probably let my kids compensate them. But yeah, I was curious to see. Yeah, so that's good to hear. See, again, each of us have a little bit of a, we're slightly.
These are real smooth. When you cut, they're real smooth.
They're really smooth. Not the texture like the medium-sized ones.
Yeah, because I find these to be too big for little stuff. So they don't hurt your hand.
Yeah, and I do love it because I do love the Tim Holtz scissors, and he does have, like you said, like she owns all 3. She owns the small, medium, and large.
Mhm.
It looks like. So that's good. Nope, scissors. You think, oh, a pair of scissors is a pair of scissors, but it's
Nope.
not. It's not.
Nope, not at all.
Oh. All right, let me pin my hands back. Okay, are we back to my hands? On that. All right, I felt like inking my pumpkin, so now I'll give you guys a moment, and then as far as the other little pumpkin, that's gonna be out of just a little bit out of the same paper that we cut our big pumpkin on the left side. So again, pulling that pattern over to the right. Let me find it for you guys as a reference. this. Oh, there it is. I'm like, where did it go? Different file. I also tried. So it's on the back of the circle pattern that we used. I just used the back and cut a little pumpkin out of that sheet. So,
Are we cutting 2 pumpkins or 1?
just one of, oh, so I cut one of the yellow pumpkins out of that title card we did, and then just one orange one. So
1 orange one. Okay,
one yellow, one orange. Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah. Okay, my kids are wanting to play a game, but they were concerned they're gonna be too loud. I'm gonna go tell them that they can, but you might hear them in the background. Give me 2 seconds. Okay, I think we're just fine to play. Like, I'm not gonna interrupt it too much. Like, it's fine. Unless you're like screaming like a crazy person. I know that you're gonna be playing a game, so it's not gonna be weird if they hear you. It's fine. Okay. They kept poking their head in because they were concerned, but I think they're not being too loud, so I think they're fine. All right. So we'll trace that pumpkin out. If you hear a child scream with excitement, because it can get pretty competitive in that game, so that's all it is competition. That's it. All right. Lori, yeah, potty break. Hopefully you took a break. I wasn't that long. I should have took a little longer for all of you to get up and stretch. I'm gonna have to find my little scissors again and give it a try again. I remember at the time I was like, oh, I didn't tell too much of a difference, but now I'm curious. I'm gonna have to see on more of these more detailed small ones what I think.
Yeah, you know how your blades hit the paper when you're trying to use your bigger scissors? They don't with the little scissors.
Oh, I'll pay attention. Yeah. So we have one pumpkin out of the back of the pattern that was on the circles. We have one pumpkin that we just took from the top of this title card. And the same thing with the little wheat. So that piece is over here as well. And then we also have a rose out of that same cream paper. So we have all those 3 pieces, hopefully, kind of cut out for the right side of our page. And then as far as the other little pieces, we cut those out of the green. So we're going to add a touch of green into the mix here. And the green, again, is on the back of that scallop paper. So that scallop paper has the green, and we're going to pull that over and balance it on the right side of our page. Okay. So as far as the pieces that I cut out of the green, I did the plants 3T and another one of the wheat. So just the top of that wheat, and I'll probably just move those over to there. So we've cut those little pieces out of the green, and then we will cut our ladder out. I actually think my husband can be the loudest out of all of them. So let's see how this goes.
How much more got? Yeah.
Nah. Okay. And then trace tiny plants, 3T. And it's going to be tucked in as well. So just like in this case, the way we're using it on this layout, we're going to tuck it in. But of course you can use it lots of different ways, depending on what project you're doing. So detach it from the paper, always, and then we can cut out those details. Let me actually bring back paper to kind of snip my clippings on top of. As I cut out this wheat design. So we cut the wheats out of the yellow on the left side, right? The one that we did previously. And in this case, like I said, as I kind of was taking each layer and trying to figure out, you know, sometimes whenever I get to the right side of a layout, I look at what patterns I used and see how to kind of bring those colors over to the other side as well. So again, just kind of feeling like it needed a little bit more green and incorporating those in where I think that a little touch of green could help. And that was the same case with yellow and the orange. It was like, oh, pull that orange over, pull the yellow over, put the cream over. And you don't have to do this with every pattern, but yeah, just kind of that process as you're trying to choose which paper which can be a learning curve. And if you haven't had a chance yet, of course, we have a few YouTube videos that just talks about kind of some thoughts and strategies behind picking paper and when to use a pattern, when to not use a pattern paper, those kind of things. YouTube channel, check them out. And cut this one out. And that's again, tiny plant, 3T. We can kind of go back to more of that feeding through technique as far as cutting goes around each of those petals. Well, in this case, we're not really acting like it's a flower petal. We're kind of treating it more as just a little
Susan,
bunch of grass, whatever it is. Yep, go ahead.
what color, what paper did you use for the last thing you cut out?
The green
Yes.
is on the back of the scallop paper.
Okay, same one. Okay, great, thanks.
Yep. And I think my border while you guys kind of finish up some of those touches, and then we'll jump right into that ladder. All right. Let me figure out what pattern we're cutting. Okay, yeah, that's right. What pattern is that? Oh, that's the orange one. So the ladder we cut out of the pattern that's on the back of the leaves. So that's what we're going to cut the ladder out of. So again, if it's helpful, because we're not doing photo maps in this class, you could do just you know, for reference, you could write it on the page itself in pencil. And it's 3x4s. So you're going to have a row of 3 3x4s and then 2 3x4 photos. In this case, if you do title card is one of those spots. All right. So the orange that's on the back of the leaves. So again, that's the one we're going to cut out of the ladder. So it has the leaves on the one side. And I'm going to kind of walk you guys through this one. So in this case, you can use an X-Acto knife. I'm going to share kind of both processes on this, or how I approached it, I guess. Again, kind of keeping to my scissors. I love my scissors, but I'll share it with you guys. If you, we actually did this one 2 different ways in this album. I used it as a stencil where the pieces were layered on top, which we've already shared, kind of that process. And I've used it where I cut the templates out of it. So on this layout, we're gonna cut those designs out of the template. So to start off with, you trace the outside edge, okay, and trace the inside as well, the little squares of those. Okay, now, really on this design, you could do it the stencil way. Let me show you guys again what that's going to look like. This is what it looks like if you layer it on top with the letters, and we're using it the same way. So together we have it all, which is this title card. Let me find it. This one right here. This title card is the one we're going to be using with the ladder. It's designed great to fit with the ladder. So go ahead and pull that out and leave it to the side for a moment. But let me kind of share that so you can decide how you want to approach this. This is really simple. Basically, all we're going to do, you would trace out the outside of the ladder, and then you would put the ladder on top, and you would trace out the squares, and then cut the squares out and place it on top of the ladder, which would give you, it would end up looking like this. So these papers were just traced out and then laid on top of the ladder. Okay, so that's where it would be treated like a stencil. If you want it to pop the other way, which really it's kind of hard to see the difference between the two, but this is where the ladder has the window pieces cut out, and these are just placed behind the window instead of on top of the ladder. And if you want to do that, then what you're going to do is you will trace out the ladder, and I'm going to go ahead and detach it really fast. And you would cut out the insides of the squares. You can do that with an X-Acto knife. I do own one. Don't love it, but I do own one. So you could do it with an X-Acto knife, and you could do that. You could just, especially with these, because they're straight edges. So I feel like it's a little bit more easier with an X-Acto knife. Or if you don't have an X-Acto knife, okay, pop that out. And we'll just turn that up really fast. Then I just poke through with my scissors and I create an X. So I go from one corner, then I go to the next corner, the next corner, the next corner. Then I have this little X, and then I go in and I trim them up. And I just take them out of the design. And you're going to have a little bit more of rough edges, I'll be honest, just because of the way that it's kind of clipping it out. But the ink just, once you rub a little bit of ink on it, it just smooths them all out. on those. Can hear them. So two different ways to kind of pop those windows through, or again, use it as a stencil versus a template on the insides of those. But yeah, so cleaning them up with a little bit of ink on those edges will just smooth them out on them. So I'll let you kind of choose what approach you want to take as far as utilizing that. Not. But either way, you'll want to pull out this title card. It's a little 4x4 title card. And we want to add the together we have it all. So if you did it where you're going to layer it on top, then you would trace pieces out as squares. So you would trace each square and then cut each square out and layer it on top. If you're doing it where you're tracing it behind, then all you need to do is line that up so you can see through. And I'm just going to trace this side and this side in my top piece. But I'm not going to trace everything else. And then I'm going to cut that. And then I'm just going to layer the whole thing behind it as a whole solid piece behind that. Okay. Either way works, I guess, in the long run. But I do want to kind of share two versions of that because some people are like, oh, that's a little bit more detailed or less, more fussy cutting that I want to do, then do it the alternative way. Option A or B, whatever one. Well, that's not even going to show. So see how I cut that little thing out? It's going to, let me finish cutting my ladder out. So I'm just going to so if you have an X-Acto knife handy, yeah, feel free to just pull it out and really makes it nice on these straight inside cuts. Oops. And catch my clippings here. So I'll cut this one out again with the scissors. So I just made a square or an X. And then I'm just going to go in and take each of those sides of that square off. And then, or did I just put that exact way? Just had it out, no? What did I do with it? It happens to us all, guys. Seriously, sometimes I'm just amazed where you have something and then the next minute you're like, well, where did it go? I'm like cutting that. Well, I could have had it cut out by the time I'm trying to find this. Okay, well, never mind on that. I'm just gonna cut mine out with the scissors because I don't know where my mat went. How odd. It's not even a small template. It's like a 6x6 mat and I can't find it. But that's okay. So again, just kind of cutting those details out of the ladder itself. Clip the top off. And then just do a nice inking on the inside of all those windows. Kind of cleaning it up. And you might even have to go back and like I had to clip that piece off. It's not quite there. And whenever I have little, I end up using my hands kind of as a backdrop and I smudge the ink on top and then I end up having all this ink on my, more ink on my fingers than on the actual paper, but just kind of holds it down, which is okay. It washes off. So, but I usually barely ever leave without having some type of ink on my hands. And you could do the Together We Have It All, or you could choose to do the Pick of the Patch. Both of them fit on the ladders, works with the ladder. And you could choose to pop this up. So if you wanted to add a little bit of pop up, and these ones actually that we have in the shop are perfect sizes. I just put them kind of in between where each step kind of matches the edge. And it luckily worked. Otherwise, in other words, like it doesn't show through the other side. Or you can just adhere it down on the top. So I'm just going to place that, line it back up, and then let that ladder kind of poke through that. That's all. Okay.
You have to trim some of that white off.
I didn't have to, but if you do, if it just happens to not be quite aligned.
Mine's too wide. I guess I didn't trim it enough.
Yeah, just trim it up just a little. And it kind of shows through a little, it kind of gives it a little shadow, well, right here at the top of mine a little bit, like a little shadow effect. But yeah, so just if you happen to, you could just flip it just a little bit more. And then we'll kind of have the ladders climbing up our, or the pumpkins climbing up our ladder. Have the wheat kind of poking out behind the, there we go. And you can choose to kind of adhere these. I mean, they're going to be on top of the border, so as long as you know, you're sure you want your photos to kind of be in those straight rows as far as the design goes. Or you could just adhere these down. It just depends if you're adding your photos now or not. But for the most part, you could probably just add this decorative border edge and ink up your title card. And adhere all those down. On your page, which then gives us two pages here. And once you add your pictures, it ends up with pictures added. So I'll let you guys kind of finish that one. So on page 2, I'm going to kind of walk through like a high level, and then it took just quite a little longer. I think there's a couple tips. I mean, we're going to do the same process, and what's great about these Kiwi Club kits, well, this one actually, the autumn was you can create 3 different layouts with this one. The class is just going to focus on these 2, but you'll have plenty of paper left over. And of course, always make sure to check out the ideas. So if you haven't already downloaded the ideas to go along with this kit, you'll be inspired in a lot of different other layouts that you can create. Not with just only once you use the Kiwi Club paper kit, but keep using those designer templates with other paper stacks you might have and fun designs. So lots of fun ideas there. Another little detail you can add, and I forgot to mention this actually, is I felt like staples. I used to staple more often, but I pulled it back out for this layout, and you can just take a staple and add little squares or X's. Just again, for a little extra detail or a touch. So something as simple as that. You probably have it in your stash, just like the thread. I had it in my stash, and now I keep it right next to my scrapbooking supplies. Just because you never know when you just want a little extra touch. And so I did add that to the top of this title card, just for a little detail on that. Okay, I'm gonna give you guys a moment before we switch gears to the next layout. So if you need to kind of take a screenshot, feel free to kind of capture that. And then I'll kind of walk through, I'm just going to walk through the steps. There's one specific little tip that I wanted to mention on this one. So we're going to do that one first. And then I'll probably just share this picture with you guys. Let me actually grab the picture. That way you can kind of finish it up on your own as well. So again, just kind of let me grab that picture while you guys are finishing up that detail. There we go. Hold on, let me grab that link. It didn't quite get it. Hold on. How's everyone doing? Were you guys able to like kind of stay up at pace? Or if I left any of you guys, let me know. I don't want to leave you guys hanging for sure. So don't be shy. Let me know if you have any needs or questions. Oh, wrong tab. There we go. Hey, you guys having fun? Nope, I'm not done yet.
Still live?
Yep, still live.
Oh, having a good time then, huh?
Yep, we just finished our layout 1. I'm gonna walk them through some just tips on layout 2, and then that's what you guys think. Yep. Okay, so there's the layout 1. Go ahead and feel free to copy that link. That's a share link. Make sure it works. And then grab layout 2. Okay, and then layout 2. So I just put both of those. Make sure you guys can see those images just for reference. Just want to make sure you guys have that. Okay. Those come up for you guys? Okay, good. So here is the layout 2. And on this one, so kind of what I was mentioning in this bit. So you're going to actually have, I just found my thing. I told you it would show it says. We're going to use the cream background for this layout. It's got little crisscross on it. And then on the other side, it's got, let's see, you can see that. Okay.
What's the other side?
It's got like a mint on one side and a cream on one side. And again, there's 2 of those ones.
Hold on until I have a problem finding that paper.
Here you go.
Okay. I
So-
found them.
Okay, perfect. So that's what I used on the background of this one. Now, as far as what's left in this kit, plenty of paper. So you actually have another set of 2 background sheets. And this is what I meant. So you can actually create 3 2-page layouts plus if with your scraps and such out of this kit. But we'll just work on this, focus on this second layout. And I'm just going to walk you through some kind of high level steps here. And then make sure you guys have those links. Deborah says that first link says I have to access. Okay, so the second one worked. The first one asked permission to download. Okay, so let me double check that first link again. Share. Anyone with the link can view. So let's try that again. Copy. And paste. Let's try that one. All right, so let's go ahead and pull that out to kind of wrap our head around what that's going to look like. So I'm going to kind of walk through designing it and then just kind of my process of how to kind of add this scallop to it. So in this case, we're going to use the streamers number 2, the one that we didn't use. So we're going to be using streamers number 2 here. And I actually flipped it. So it goes like this and I flipped it over and put it on the right side. So we'll use it for the right side and the left. So again, kind of the same thing. If we kind of work on the right side, we'll start with the right side. The other one we started with the left side, but we'll start with the right side on this one. Then you would just kind of move it over and do the details on the left side of the layout. Okay. Clear some space here. There we go. Let me move that other layout. There we go. We're done with that one. All right. So focusing here on the left. So yes, streamers 2, right? And then the other designer templates, we're going to use the roses again. We're going to use tiny plants 9 over here. So 90 on tiny plants. The rose, we're going to use that one again from the gather. So gather number 3, and you'll cut 2 of those as you can see here. Okay. You can kind of see those patterns. And then the tiny plants 8, tiny plants number 8. And you can kind of see how we just cut multiple of those kind of following the streamers number 2. And then also tiny plants number 1, which is the top of these. So those are the few designer templates that we used here. But I want to kind of walk through adding the scallop edge with the designer templates that we have. And so really I just, again, looked at the edge of this, and we're going to kind of walk that through and create that round scallop edge together, just to make sure that because everything else, we're just going to follow the same steps that we did on those. The title card up here. Sorry, let me grab that. Okay, we'll come back to that. Let's start with the scallops. I'll come back to this little title card tip here. So let's go ahead and pull out the pattern that we're going to cut this out of, and it's this sheet. We haven't used this pattern yet. Okay, and it has kind of that green gray scallops blender on the back, but this on the front. So that's the one we're looking for here. Oh, thanks, Paula. Have a good night too. Okay. It worked. Perfect. So just make sure that everyone had that second image. Perfect. Okay, glad you guys, so make sure to grab both of those images. I want to make sure that you guys can have that to kind of look at as a guideline as well. All right, so we're going to lay that up on this paper, and we're going to trace it out. So basically just, you're going to have to trace each side. Since this is the fun border, so you're going to trace the left and the right. Okay, and we are going to trace another one, so you could feel free to just trace the left side one too. They don't quite match up when you, so like if you trace this one and you bring it over, it doesn't quite match up, but because we're going to use it on balancing our both sides of our layout, I would say line it up on the paper, and it's okay if this edge is not 100%, and just trace one more. So you're going to end up with something like that. Okay. Then of course we just cut here, here, and here, and then we'll have the two pieces. So if you want to go ahead and do that really fast, and then we can focus on kind of that scallop edge. So just tracing that. This piece that we just cut off, that first piece, we're not using this piece. So that piece we're not using, you just put it to the side. And then you can at the middle. And then we'll cut the other one as well. So you'll have one for your right side and one for your left side, which pretty much took up that 12 by 12 sheet. I mean, we have these little pieces left that we're not using, but yeah, so you'll end up with one on this side and one on the other side. All right. Now, as far as the scallop goes, give you guys a moment. We're going to use this pattern, which is the leaves on the other side and that orange on the other side. Okay, so I'll let you kind of get that first. So go ahead and finish those streamers too. Okay.
Susan, I'm out of paper, so I'm really bummed that I don't get to do the second layout, but it's okay. Maybe it will entice me to buy another packet. Anyway.
I told you at the beginning, I was like, I don't feel like I'm tired of reading with this paper back yet.
I know it's so beautiful, and I love the flower vine, just gorgeous.
Okay.
But again, my little antidepressant is starting, so I'm going to have to sign off. But you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Everybody have a joyous, peaceful day, and we'll see you at the next class.
All right.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Okay, once you have the streamers cut out, so we're just gonna kind of work through some of these alterations on how I added this kind of scallop wave to this. So to start off with, So again, we're gonna use this one, but we're gonna use the orange on the other side, right? And we're gonna take our streamers number 2. And to start off, I want you to just lay this on the paper, and we're gonna move it over. We'll move it over so there's like 1.5 inch space from the edge of the paper to the template. Okay. And then go ahead and lightly just add a pencil, trace that one left side. We're not cutting anything else. We're just using this as a guideline. Okay, so you're just gonna trace that line. Like
Susan, you said about how far from the edge?
probably about an hour or 1.5 inches.
Thank you.
Yeah, so somewhat like that, right? And then you just trace that left side, and that's it. That's all we're gonna trace for the moment. And then I used this template that was in the kit. So if all you got was the kit, right? We're really using this in lots of different ways. We used it as a bracket, we used it as a little decorative piece, and now we're going to use it as a trimming on to go along with the streamers. And so this is really just kind of, I'm going to use this line, and then I'm going to see through the designer templates, and I'm going to take and start adding little scallops to that edge. And then I'm going to kind of just move it up and go piece by piece on that. And then I twist it a little bit to follow the wave, because we want to kind of build up our own little frill to this strimmer. And it's just kind of another way to use, well, wanted to create another layout and look and use the same designer templates. So it's a fun little different trick that you can do as well. So again, you can do like one at a time. You can do, like in this case, I can probably do 2. And you should be able to see through the designer template where that guideline we created initially. Right? Okay. And then it will just kind of cut off on the edge. Like when you run out of your 12 by 12, you just kind of end it. You're gonna end up with that. Now, you could erase that if you want. So I'm just going to kind of show you what it's going to look like once we cut those pieces and layer them back, right? I mean, this has to be cut out, but if you align your pencil or your paper right up over, then you don't need to erase that mark. But if you want to, just to have it stand out a little bit wider than what it was, I would erase it. I did erase mine previously, so that's kind of what I was saying, like just do it lightly, and then now you can just erase that line. And this is just going to be a little trimming to this. So we just need to, we're not cutting this whole thing out again. That would be a waste of the paper. You can just come over probably a little bit. So like bringing it out. Well, let me use the template so you guys see that. So that's kind of where it was. Just stretch it out to the right, maybe another 1.5 inches. And we're gonna do it basically a mark, and just to kind of show you guys in visual here, you don't have to do a straight cut. You just need to make a mark where you're gonna do a cut. The key is to make sure that it's where you do that cut, there's still enough space between these that frill is gonna be accommodated. Okay. So like I said, it's like just a mark. You could do a straight line if you want to make sure you're confident in that. But you're going to end up with this piece. And then we're going to cut the scallops And then that becomes the piece there before the third one. Okay.
How far over do you come?
On this side,
Yeah, because I'm afraid we'll cut it too short.
I know. I think it's better safe than sorry to go over a good amount. So if you want to trace a straight line to see what you think before you cut it, you can absolutely do that. Otherwise, I would say from the curve, this top curve,
Uh-huh.
where you're going to be the tightest. Everywhere else you're not. So honestly, from this top curve, if you go over a good 2 inches, you'll be safe.
Okay.
Because mine was only about probably 1 inch right here. But if you want to make sure you're safe, just go a little bit more from that middle of that top curve, just a little bit more out, and then do a straight cut.
Okay.
Yeah. And then just kind of like when we cut the other scallops, just want to follow that and take each little bump one at a time. And guiding through. Takes a little bit more adjusting because at this point we're working with a full 12 by 12 or a 12-inch length. Unlike when we were just cutting it out of the bracket piece, but you just follow that up. And that's just going to give you that little extra detail to the streamers too for the right side. I didn't do it on the left side, just added a little bit to the right side with that. So here, let me, as you guys are cutting that. So it was just kind of, again, a way to pull over that orange paper. Was like, oh, what about a trim? And so just adding a little trim because we had that orange in those 2 places on the left side. So pulling it over on the right side. And so it just kind of gives it an extra little embellishment detail to the page. And then again, you'll have this piece, of course, it will come in handy with other, like cutting out the little pumpkin, or even in this case, when we cut this one out, you're only cutting the
One thing about this one,
tucking in
transition.
behind. It's tucking in behind the other border, right? So I would trace that out of that and then use that there. So it goes in your scrap pile, I guess what I'm saying, until you need it. And then this is the piece that we're going to layer as a trim to this other piece, which will give us this kind of look on the page. And then of course you'll want to ink those and do that, but that's how I added that little scallop to our streamers number 2 here on the right side of the page. After that, we're done with the gather number 5 and the streamers number 2. We already cut those pieces out, so you can place those in your pile or in your tray and remove them on those. And then again, oh, MJ, I missed the gratitude book class. Okay, so yeah, I shared that link. You can find it over on the blog if you want to check that out. MJ, here, let me see if I can find the link again for you. Now, as far as this class and those 2 other pages go, the pictures, so to use those as a reference, are in the comments. So make sure you grab those before we recording's gone. We will also make sure to send out a replay, but if you're still working to finish them out, I want to make sure that you guys have those pictures. So just really quickly, I'm going to walk through the steps of the page 2, just in case anybody has any questions, and then I'll let you guys kind of finish that out on your own, tracing each of these elements. We're going to follow the same tips and steps for the roses and the other pieces. We, as far as picture sizes, this is a 4 by 5, and I used a 4 by 6 here. So those are the 2 sizes on the right side of the photos. This title card, I didn't want a big bulky card up here. I didn't want it to be boxy, boxy, boxy. So on this one, I cut the tag out of the family and then just cut this as a strip, the bottom part where life begins and love never ends, and just layered that behind the tag. So that's where it came from, was this title card. And I just trimmed those out and then layered those on top. Okay. So again, we use plants number 9, the rose here, plants number 8, and plants number 1. And those will give you those little details on that side. And then over on the left side, we already cut our streamers out. And we're going to use the same designer templates. Once you kind of finish those, you're going to move them over and do the same things, same patterns. We're going to use 9T over here with our roses and balance that out. And then we're going to use Harvest, and you cut it out of this brown or this orange paper, but only the top part. There's no point cutting the whole thing out. You'll cut one out of the strips. You can add little bows of twine for little details, little twine here for details. And then other than that, we're going to use the little pumpkin. We'll harvest number 1 here and harvest number 2 on those. And then the title card I used here was the pumpkin kisses, but I cut the bracket out and put it on some pop-up and then layered those other pieces, kind of clustered around it again, and then 2 4 by 6 pictures on the left side. So just kind of walk it through. Does everyone, make sure you have that picture link, and it should be working now, so that's good. And then of course we'll send a follow-up video for the most part, kind of walking through that. But as long as kind of you don't have any questions and you have the pictures, then hopefully you'll be able to kind of wrap those up. It should come together quickly, and little details again. But yeah, does anyone have any questions before I leave you?
Yes, so your roses, you have 2 different colors. What did you use for those?
Okay, so the one rose is the yellow, which is this yellow that's on the back of the stripe.
Okay.
And then the other rose is the light mint, which is the scallop one. That's what
Okay, I see it.
Okay, yeah, and then these green, that's the same too. That's used pattern here on the top of those is this scallop one.
Okay, gotcha.
And then, oh, the green is just the green that we were using before too, which is on the box. Oh, where was the green on the back of? Oh, the green's on the back of the scallop one too. So
Gotcha.
green that was on the back of that.
Okay,
Yeah. Just using kind of those papers again. So you should leave you with this. If you want to create another layout using those 2 background sheets, you'll have a really fun design that you can, we're not using much of this, so you'll be able to use a little like that, and then any of the scraps of paper to maybe add a little pumpkin, you know, cut a border out of this and just create another one, another third simple layout if you want with the rest of the kit. So you'll have plenty of paper, I guess, is what I'm saying, left over to kind of play around with how to use the rest of that kit up for that third kit. So, or check again out for ideas and inspiration. Make sure to check out that free digital idea book using this kit as well. So, okay. This was fun. Thank you
It
guys.
was fun. I thank you so much.
You are very welcome. Oh,
And-
Deborah says, will you show close up of a flower and stem plus rose cluster on opposite page? This one? Is that what I just showed? So maybe I'll just show it again just to make sure I don't know when your comment came in. And then there's the rose cluster. So hopefully that helped, Deborah. Okay. Thank you. All right, awesome.
You have a very blessed Easter, or
You
listen, Easter, Thanksgiving. What's wrong with me?
You guys-
Easter's a long way off.
I know. Easter is wrong off.
Yes, Thanksgiving.
All right, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks again. We'll see you guys at the next class. All right.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you
Bye
so
now.
much.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.